Do you all remember what you were like when you were 5 years old and what your dreams were? When you thought that anything was possible? But something happens when you get a little older where you start to doubt yourself and wonder if you can achieve your dreams. And sometimes society can get you to conform to values of fame, money, fortune, and power. But I believe that there's still a dreamer inside all of us. And I know it's true because it's why we go watch the movies and why we read books today. It's to experience stories and people and characters that we can't experience in our lives, to stretch our imaginations, and to realize what our true potential is. And I believe that VR animation can do this in a way that no other previous medium has. Because animation is not constrained by reality. Animation is constrained only by the creativity within the director's head. And VR puts you into that environment and even lets you interact with the other characters. And I believe that VR animation teaches us what it means to be human, brings out that dreamer inside of us, and helps us understand what the human potential is. So what was my dream when I was a kid? I wanted to be an animator. And so I went to Stanford University, where I designed my own major in computer science, art, and psychology. But my mom and dad told me I'd be very poor and destitute if I followed my dreams in entertainment. So instead, I went to eBay, where I started off as a UI designer, and then became a culture anthropologist, and then a product manager of new ventures. But nights and weekends, I took classes at the community college because all the Lucasfilm animators would teach there. And I thought, if I could just save up enough money one day, I can pursue my real dream and go get an MFA and do animation. So 5 years had passed, and I decided, it's time. I'm going to apply to get a Master in Fine Arts. But the deadlines had passed, and my mom said, why don't you just apply to business school? And I thought, because I hate business. But I ended up applying because I'm a good daughter, and I got into Harvard Business School. And I was going to say no. And my boss at eBay said, don't be an idiot. Don't say no to Harvard without first trying out Hollywood, because it's very sexy, but you don't know what Hollywood is actually about. So I ended up going to Hollywood and became assistant to Zach Braff and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's talent manager, and they're two well-known actors in the US. But learned that everything is a business at the end of the day, because moms are always right. I ended up going to business school. And at Harvard Business School, I got elected to run the Entertainment Media Club. But I still loved animation. So I took an internship at Pixar, where I worked on Toy Story 3 in production. And I loved animation there, but I was craving to be part of an industry that was growing and new, rather than one that was already mature. So when I graduated, I went to Zynga, who made Farmville. And I was there for 6 years, became vice president of games, and led the entire Farmville franchise. But nights and weekends, I still loved animation. So I ended up working with my two friends from Pixar on the short film called The Dam Keeper, which was nominated for an Oscar for Best Animated Short. The first time I put on a VR headset, I didn't like it. I didn't like it because all I could notice was the resolution and the poor pixels, because our standards for reality are very high. But when I put on the headset and saw animation, that's when I realized it was the future of animation, because it puts you in that magical world and makes you believe that it's truly there. And so that was it. I knew I needed to quit my job, and I started this new company, Baobab Studios. And people from both film and games are all flocking to animation. Why? Why do they love this new medium? My two co-founders in the middle, Eric Darnell, he wrote and directed all 4 Madagascar films, and also Ants. And Larry Cutler, on the right-hand side, is our CTO, and he worked on Toy Story 2, Monsters, Inc., and then became global head of character technology at DreamWorks, and is judge for the Technical Achievement Awards. And those are all of our advisors at the bottom, the co-founder of Pixar, the co-founder of DreamWorks, the co-founder of Twitch. So why are all these people jumping in? It's because they said that it feels the same way that it did when Pixar and DreamWorks came about, when the beginning of CG animation was just starting, And nobody knew what they were doing. They're artists, they're engineers, business people, all coming together trying to figure out a new industry, and that's why they're all so excited. So, what is it about animation that makes them all love it? Animation is art in motion. It takes you to completely different worlds, ones that you could never imagine. It makes you feel they're so real that you think you could reach out and touch it. And those last two sentences that I just said are also the definition of virtual reality, which is why we think animation and VR were made for each other. And the mission of VR animation, at least to us, is to bring out that 5-year-old in you back out, to bring out your sense of wonder and inspire you to dream again. I'm going to show you a quick clip about what VR animation is, at least to us, so you know what I'll be talking about for the rest of the talk.
I had been working for over 20 years directing feature animated films. I was a director on Ants and a writer and director on all the Madagascar films, and I decided that maybe it was time to try something different and put on a VR headset for the first time. It blew me away. It's like this undiscovered frontier.
We see virtual reality as a new medium for telling stories and creating great cinematic experiences that are character-driven. It allows people to be taken to places and to worlds that otherwise wouldn't exist.
At Baobab Studios, what we're trying to do is find the tools that we can use to have a great story and tell it well and have characters that audiences fall in love with, and do it in a context where the viewer is a part of the story.
Thank you. So that there is Chloe the bunny, and you'll see her again later in the talk. But we do storytelling, and storytelling is all about getting you to care so much about the characters, you love them or you hate them, and you want to know what happens. That's why you watch the entire story, read the entire book. And we believe that VR makes you care about these characters in a way you could have never in these other previous mediums. So remember that scene where the bunny comes out and jumps at you and sniffs at you? First of all, in feature films, this is a big no-no. You don't, in general, break the fourth wall. The characters are not usually supposed to talk to you. And if they do break the rules and they talk to you, you don't really believe that they're really talking to you because you're in your theater seats. But this strange thing happens when people watch this, because when you're in VR, you see the entire world around you is all ice. It's snowing, and you look down, you have a little bunny body. And when you squat, you see your bunny body get fatter. So you really believe that you're there. And people would start to wave at her. They would start trying to pet at her. And they would get on the ground and start playing with her because they were sure that she was interacting with them. In fact, there's this one scene where there are these two aliens, when they had their laser beams pointed at you. You're standing here as a bunny, and she's hiding behind you. And people would say, I can feel her breath on my shoulder, and I need to protect her because I'm the only thing between her and these aliens, and I have to be a bunny shield. That is not something you could get when you're watching a feature film. Something in your reptile brain makes you believe that these characters are truly real, so real that you care about them and you want to help them. So the next piece that we created, we took a lesson from Invasion. In the first piece, there were no VR controllers yet. All you could do is stand there in different places. But by the time you got controllers, you could actually interact with the characters. People wanted to play with the bunny, and now with the controllers, you can actually do something about it. Now let me show you a quick clip of this next piece, and I'll talk about what was different about this piece. So those are the same two alien characters, and this time you are a menial task space robot. They don't like you. They think that you're awful. And if you help them enough during the entire piece, you become a valued member of the spaceship. And you have your own character arc as well as the other characters. And this was our attempt to convert that empathy that you feel for the other characters into action, which we called compassion, where you can actually help these other characters now. And in the third piece that we have, called Rainbow Crow, is based off of a Native American tale about the crow. You know how the crow looks today, right? Black feathers and the cawing voice. Now, Native American culture, the crow used to have beautiful rainbow feathers and a beautiful singing voice. In our VR experience, he's John Legend. He's beautiful and sings beautifully as well. And he decides to fly into the sun to bring warmth back to the planet to save all his friends. And in the process, burns all his feathers black and makes his voice like a crow and make the ultimate sacrifice. We want to test out in this experience whether or not we can make you walk into a storybook world instead of something that looks realistic. What is it like to have these soft edges? Does it feel like you're walking into your childhood dream? But the reason why I'm especially excited about this is because of VR's ability to bring out your empathy and change your perspective. Jeremy Bailenson at the Stanford VR Lab has proven that if you look in a mirror in VR and you see that you are a black woman and you look at the mirror for long enough and you move around, when you take off the headset, you actually behave differently to people of different races. He's also proven that if you are put into the face of a homeless person and you go through the actions of being a homeless person, when you take off the headset, compared to when you just watch a flat piece, you are much more moved and you're more likely to empathize with homeless people and actually help them. And in this piece, we specifically cast minorities and women because I think it's very important for people to be able to have different perspectives other than the ones that we always have. So we have John Legend, Constance Wu, Diego Luna, and also Randy Edmonds, who's a famous Native American in this piece, and more celebrities that I can't talk about just yet, but will be announced soon. So I oftentimes get asked, is VR, is it a film or is it a game? And I like to say it's neither. It's its own medium. And the way I explain it is, imagine there's a little girl crying on a park bench. She's too young to be by herself. Now imagine she's crying in a film. You feel very bad for her, but you're not going to get out of your theater seat to go help her. In a game, you talk to her, but the reason you talk to her is to get to the next level, to win, to become a hero or finish a quest. And in real life, you would hopefully talk to her because you really care and you want to help her. Well, in VR, we have the potential to have the empathy of films, the agency of games, and the motivation of real life, where you care about these characters in ways you don't normally care about them because you believe they're real. And now you can do something about that caring. You can interact with them, but you do it because you care about them, not because you're trying to win and you're thinking about them. So this is why we're very excited about VR. It has the ability to suck you into the medium and get you to care about these characters in ways you never would have been able to be before. There's some evolutionary theorists who believe that storytelling is the reason that Homo sapiens won out. It's because of our ability to tell rumors, to be able to say, there's a lion over there, don't go there. It helped us learn. And it's, again, the ability to experience characters and stories beyond those we can experience. When you watch a movie, you think, oh, I feel really bad for that person. What are they thinking? How are they feeling? What would I do in their place? Now in VR, you can actually play a character. You actually experience it. You don't even just think about it passively. You form a memory. You remember this experience forever. And you don't wonder, what would I do? Because you actually have to act in VR. You actually do. And that tells us who we are as humans and who we could be and our true potential. Thank you very much.